Hey, how's it going, guys? Nate here, and this summer, what is arguably Fallout 4's biggest DLC, Far Harbor, is set to release, and with it comes an entire new map that Bethesda's claiming to be bigger than any other DLC map the studio has yet to produce. Now keep in mind, this is including that of Solstheim from Skyrim, which was literally just under half as big as the original game's map, so Far Harbor is definitely going to offer a pretty massive area for us to explore and traverse in a sense. Now, Far Harbor is actually based off of a real-life location known as Bar Harbor, an island just off the coast of Maine that you're looking at right now. So we can expect that the DLC map will be very similar in terms of geography to its real-life counterpart. But something that immediately struck me about Bar Harbor was how little the island appeared to be urbanized. According to a town census, less than 5,000 people call Bar Harbor home. However, the island is a rather popular local tourist destination, but aside from that, the entire island holds little popular relevance. But one redeeming quality of such an island is located towards the central part of it, and there lies the pretty big Acadia National Park that takes up the majority of the entire place, but we'll talk about that in just a moment. Either way, Far Harbor is set to take place on a pretty huge piece of land, and with this massive area comes three equally important factions: the Children of Adam, the local Synth Colony, and of course the native settlers. And what I hope for this video to do is to cover each and every one of these three factions and talk about their motivations, their advantages, their disadvantages, and really just their relationships with one another. So without further ado, let's do further. So I figured we'd start this mini-series off by talking about what is arguably my favorite of the three factions, the Children of Adam, and exactly what they want from this island, because aside from their religion, this is one of the more secretive factions. We don't know a whole lot about them, we don't know a lot of their history, and we can't really join them, and in this DLC that's all going to change. However, what we do know is that they only tend to congregate around heavily radioactive areas. They celebrate and literally worship radiation, or as they like to call it, the glow, suggesting that Far Harbor must be home to some pocket of radiation big enough for the Children of Adam to want to congregate around, especially since we can assume that there's probably a lot of Children of Adam in the area, seeing as they're one of the DLC's centrist factions, not just some random group as they've been in previous games. And the only thing that can really produce the amount of radiation that the Children of Adam so desperately wish to worship and congregate around, as history has taught us, is a nuclear bomb, which creates a little bit of a problem. Because if I'm the Chinese and I'm dropping a nuclear warhead on a location, it's going to be because the location is either A, a massive major population center such as Boston or New York or Washington, which Far Harbor is obviously not, or B, a major government or military installation of some kind. Now, since we know for a fact that Far Harbor is not home to any major relevant population center of any kind, we can assume that perhaps there must be a military or government installation on the island. But just looking at Google Maps will suggest the otherwise. Aside from a national park, which obviously holds zero military significance, there doesn't appear to be any major military or government installations on the entire island. Which leads me to my next theory. Perhaps there's a secret underground military or government base that the Chinese had an invested interest in incapacitating or destroying. Maybe it was home to an important vault or one of the Enclave's fallout shelters housing significant people. We don't know, but personally, if I were going to be building an underground military base of some kind, I would want it to be in a secluded area without a very large population nearby that could discover it, and Acadia National Park definitely suits that bill. Nobody in their right mind would dare try to build on the land, and there's only less than 5,000 people that will run the risk of stumbling upon it. Or perhaps in a complete 180, another interesting theory I like to think to be possible is maybe Far Harbor was actually doing the nuking. Perhaps Far Harbor was playing host to a United States nuclear missile silo that the Children of Adam stumbled upon and said, "Oh my god, look at these bombs and radiation." This would be like their Disneyland, mind you, people. So it seems very likely that it could be either of those two theories. Either someone had to have an interest in nuking this place because of an important location, or perhaps this island was participating in the nuking, because we know the United States loves to put their nuclear missiles on either A, islands, or B, off the United States East Coast, and Far Harbor is conveniently on both of them. So it seems like a pretty nice strategic area that we could assume the US would want to build a nuclear missile silo on, and it would obviously be protected by the national park that nobody's really going to want to mess with. But all in all, just the sheer presence of the Children of Adam suggests something of major significance being stored on this island, which leads me to my next point. What exactly will the Children of Adam's relationship be with the other two factions, the Synths and the locals? Perhaps the synths will want to secure this hypothetical missile silo or government installation of some kind that the children of Adam are trying to defend and protect. Or perhaps the children of Adam will come into conflict with the locals, who could be trying to persecute them of some kind and drive them out. Or possibly the opposite could occur, where the children of Adam are trying to forcibly convert the local people, much like my evangelical aunt. So it's very interesting to kind of presume and theorize what role exactly the children of Adam will play when it comes to relationships with the other two main, I guess you can say, the main factions in this DLC. The next faction I really want to touch base upon is the Synth Colony, because the synths are a pretty interesting group of well, not people, but the synths are a rather interesting bunch of self-aware robot thingies. But what I find most intriguing about the synths here is that they very much seem to be operating autonomously, independent of Institute influence. And even then, it would be quite the paradox for Bethesda to actually include any major Institute influence in this DLC, seeing as at least half the player base probably opted to annihilate the entirety of that faction. So perhaps Far Harbor has been operating as a bit of a synth safe zone for synths that have escaped the Institute, possibly with the help of the Railroad maybe, and want to start anew, because we know that many of these synths have very human desires. They want to be free and have a say in their own destiny, and perhaps Far Harbor is one of the places they tend to escape to in an effort to earn that alongside other synths that share common goals. But I very much picture the synths to be a bit more of a passive, defensive, persecuted faction in this game. I'd imagine the Far Harbor locals will share their Commonwealth counterparts' hatred and fear of the synths, and very much be out to get them and try and get them back, because a lot of the humans have the mentality of these synths being the boogeymen, in a sense, and they really want them just gone. As for the relationship with the children of Adam, however, I'd imagine it'd be a bit more complex. As I mentioned before, they could be at odds with each other, or perhaps they could form an alliance of convenience, in a sense. They both seem to share the fact that both factions, the Children of Adam and the Synths, are outsiders to this location, and are likely to be rather despised by most of the locals. So maybe we could get a chance to format some sort of friendly relationship between the two, possibly a defensive pact or otherwise. And finally, last but not least, we have the native island locals, and these guys are likely to be pretty frustrated with their current situation and the other two factions. As referenced earlier, they will probably see the synths as evil boogeymen out to get them, and likely won't take too kindly to that sort of thing. But as for the Church of Adam, I can't really imagine relations to be that much better either. We know that the Commonwealth chapter of the Children of Adam to be very aggressive towards outsiders. If you happen to run into these sad bastards in the middle of Boston, they will try to fuck your shit up, and I can very much see this aggressive stance towards outsiders being carried over to Far Harbor, where they'll view part of their mission, aside from securing radioactive elements of the place, to almost crusade the locals in a sense. It just seems as though the natives of Far Harbor will probably feel as though they're being invaded by these robo-boogeymen and random cultists, so we can expect the natives to be very aggressive in their efforts to try and expel the other two factions in this DLC. But anyway, guys, that kind of sums this video up, where we talk about these three separate factions and their relationships with one another and their motives and what have you. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below too, because this is a pretty interesting subject. There's a lot of possibilities, and I probably haven't even scratched the surface. This is all just theory and speculation. However, I think it's got a pretty good chance. But tell me if you think I'm wrong. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Like if you liked, dislike if you disliked, and I hope to see you in the next video. Peace out, everybody.